This is the 8th, well, it is the 8th of August, 2024. And right now, I am stuck at a streetlight. And right next to the streetlight, there is that small cell right there. So as I leave my neighborhood in North Las Vegas, there's a small cell. There's two small cells, actually, inside of that neighborhood that are pinging you the second you go inside of that neighborhood. So it's like a gate tower or a guard tower, or like in a gated community. Like imagine these transceivers, that small cell is just like a guard tower, where instead of giving your ID, clocking into the gate, you know what I mean? I had a lot of friends that had gated communities when I was a young kid. And, you know, you go, you stop, you talk to the gate guard, they say, what house are you going to, this, that, or the other. Well, this cell tower technology is the same thing. It's the same thing, except you never know that they're checking in on you. You never know that they're pinging you, checking your identification. You never know that all this is happening with a group of people that are maliciously putting us on watch lists and terrorist lists. So it's just a reality. You would never ever guess that in a million years. You know, if you grew up in this country like I did, you're taught all these things. We're practically brainwashed to think that this is the best place on earth. And is it our brainwashing? Is it 50% of our upbringing, which is our teaching, you know what I mean? The things that we're taught, the things that rub off on us? Or is it also just a really good place in a lot of different ways? I don't want to hate on America every day. That's not the point of this channel. There's a lot of things that are great about America. But when it comes to corruption happening to the point where somebody needs to risk their life, their well-being, their family situation. I don't know how many intelligence community agents you're familiar with, but typically when a person is inside the intelligence community, then they're going to be the primary breadwinner for their family. So when these 3 FBI whistleblowers, who were the primary breadwinners of their families, risked everything, not only their life, not only their security, but their families as well. And that's not selfish. That's not reckless. That's not dumb to do that. That was extremely brave, and that's the type of stuff that needs to be done to get this to stop. Those are people that still were respectful to this country and the corruption that this country does. Instead of trying to make the United States and the FBI look like absolute dog shit, which they could have done, they did not. They were still respectful, saying, hey, as much as I think this organization needs to be ripped up and thrown into the wind, which is not being a dick, that's just saying that's how much corruption is currently here every single day. They could have said so many other things, like how the domestic terror list is being handed to other branches of the government and then the military as well, and then people are hit with electronic weapon systems. Because that's all the same argument. That's all the same whistleblowing that they just selectively informed, either for their own protection, either because they were worried, or because it's, well, there's a few different reasons. It's not just A or B with that one. But moral of the story is this is all happening. You've got Dr. Anna Maria Mialcia, however you say her name. I always say it wrong. I apologize for that. But she just posted another instance of a veteran that's been placed on these no-fly lists, these watch lists. But it's not a no-fly list because they still allow them to board. And then when you've got an Army veteran and you've got remote neural monitoring technology, what's the point of using 3 to 9 some undercover and some plainclothes, or some uniformed and some undercover TSA agents on a person? So that's just psychological torment. That's like gang stalking more than it's actually trying to keep people safe. So that's the same type of mentality, to have somebody know that they're watched, for them to feel nervous due to that. And then on the remote neural monitoring and the potential monitoring systems, then they say, oh, well, look at them. They think they're being watched. They're being paranoid. They've got an elevated heart rate. So these people literally create a scenario where then people could be criticized even more for not doing anything wrong. Like myself, for example, I've been entrapped by my local Las Vegas justice system numerous times, starting back from when I was about 16 years old. And all crime I've ever done in my life was sell marijuana, and only marijuana, when I was a little kid. And it aligned with when the city was trying to get marijuana legalized. So before they could make the most money that they could make, what did they have to do? They had to do a crackdown. They had to do a crackdown because why? Because all those sales are not paying an 8% sales tax. Every $100 marijuana sale would have made $8 for the school system, for the tax collection system. So that's how the system really works. Is before they start to make money on things, then there's a crackdown. And we could acknowledge this and examine the same exact thing in, 45 more states that have yet to legalize marijuana, and you'll see the exact same phenomenon that occurred in Las Vegas. Because when a system does things like this, they research it, they do it analytically, and there's little to no deviation when that occurs. So we will see the same cookie cutter situation happen 45 more times. And, Las Vegas is a smart city. It's one of the first probably 15 to 20 smart cities in the United States. So what I'm going through with this constant microwave auditory effect, while some might only be having subliminal messaging, well, it's because this city is wired to the point where every square inch of it, you cannot lose a person in Las Vegas. That's my theory, is you cannot misplace a person here. When there's this much radio frequency activity, this entire city is like a Wi-Fi zone, you know what I mean? Like, we're covered every square inch of this fucking place. Even if you go, I've gone far out west to where Red Rock Canyon is, and looked around the, everything is practically brand new still out there. I went to school out there 10, 15 years ago now. Feels like just yesterday, but excuse my French, sorry. But yeah, so even all the way far out there, where it seems like there's just rocks, right? And you can't just crank radio frequency through the side of a mountain. It just doesn't work like that. So it'd have to be retransmitted through satellites, drones, whatever. Moral of the story is, it's amazing how practically every inch of this place is hot with this energy. So if they want to light you up with megahertz radar practically anywhere, or want to continue this remote neural monitoring torture and just whisper creepy crap to you. And, one is not worse than the other. There are different types of torture made by the most modern military that we know, which is us. And China shouldn't be considered more advanced because they don't have the ethics. We have those same type of unethical programs. We're just not told about it. So MK Ultra was most likely more advanced than any equivalent type of research and studies that China has ever done. Why? Because they just went balls to the wall with it. Once again, excuse my French, but they were doing it to the point where they've got more than 10 instances of universities, prisons, insane asylums in the United States, and then even more of that occurring in Canada. And I'm not going to talk about that anymore right now because I don't have the information right in front of me, and I don't want to give people wrong information about something so important, so directly linked to this, because that really is the beginning of this. Transcranial stimulation is exactly what I go through every single day. Whether you hear a sound, communication, or hit with pulses of energy, that falls into that basket of transcranial stimulation. And that torture technique / modification of personality technique was discovered during the MK Ultra non-consensual testing and experiments on United States citizens and Canadians. And it most likely happened in other countries too. this Ukraine war in Russia. Russia attacked Ukraine because Ukraine was transmitting signal into Russia. I shit you not. Okay? So these are the little subtleties that really start to paint a picture of what the hell is going on. Electronic weapon systems are World War III. PSYOPs is World War III. Resonance frequency weapons, that's World War III. You know, nukes, if we get nuked, our country would have to allow it. Think about that. So before any country could ever get a nuke off, other countries would have to watch that and be okay with it. So if we ever die from any type of traditional weapon system, then we would have to be not being defended. So now, since we are being attacked by the most modern weapon system that I'm aware of, the same system or the same logic is present, where this attack is being allowed, this attack is being enabled. And it's not from China, it's not from Russia, as we all know, or most of us know. And it's just unfortunate that we don't have more people with better ethics. We've got a person named Dr. Robert Duncan, or Robert Duncan. I'm not sure if his title of being a doctor, but Robert Duncan gave his life after working on these projects, as I would have fallen victim to the same thing. You say, hey, okay, I'm going to go work in the military. Maybe this is the best place for me to use my intelligence. Maybe this is just the best job for me. Then you realize the system is being run in a way that you don't agree with. You say, okay, this is bad. I don't want to do this anymore. And then within a blink of an eye, then the system's running on you. Then they turn it on you. And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to try to release a book to try to help people. And that book was called Soul Catcher Volume 1. And guess what? Mr. Duncan could not publish that book. He was not allowed to release that book. Because why? Because it had too much information about Bluebeam, about 007, about the targeting program, about how that is the same thing as the gang stalking program. That's why people act out. I know I did. I know I was anxious. I know I had my heart beating through my fucking throat, excuse my French, when this whole thing started, and I had no idea why. Like, why is my heart rate going so fast? Why do I feel like I'm being watched? Well, it's because remote neural monitoring is real. It's because this is all 100% real. And so many people go through this. And if we were to look globally, then even more and even more and even more people go through this. So while there's literally a word called "don't just focus on yourself," don't just focus on your own country, don't be ethnocentric. That's a word I learned in college. Why is it now that you have to go buy a VPN to even get a news article from another country, unless it's carefully moderated content that our own intelligence communities want us to see, so that it aligns with another narrative and or agenda? So that's like being the worst parent / leader / moderator on the planet if you only let us know about something and if it aligns with one of your ulterior motives. So we need to really think about all this and say, since that's happening, this is happening. Since we don't have any real information getting out, now all of this has been enabled. Since we've got zero transparency and honesty about this terrorist watch list program, now we've been awarding people the ability to use their discretion in such a piss poor way that it's literally hypocrisy. These terrorists are gaslighting us, calling us terrorists. And we need more representation for this taxation to be just. I love Jim Jordan, but we need more, buddy. Those 3 whistleblowers in May apparently didn't change much, because I'm still targeted and tortured every single day. So is AP Hill. And, you can send any sort of YouTube with any targeted person, then you fake trolls the money from the taxpayers instead of protect us. I stand with these people that are real, honest, genuine people that tell their stories, that tell their plight, opposed to you pathological psycho liars that are enabled and hand selected for this torture. You need to read about it. It's the psychology of a torturer. You get a dopamine release from this, from pressing a button, adding to a person's pain. You think it's funny to shoot microwave auditory effect at people, then you don't deserve to be in this position. You should be in prison. You shouldn't be in a position like this. And you were selected so that the government didn't have to ask you to do crazy shit, because they already were watching you illegally and they know you'll do it. So everybody have a good day. Don't let these people get to you. And if they're trying to hurt your feelings or get to you, say, you got the psychology of a torturer, and bleep off.